Hi, welcome. This is Dr. John DeMartini. This is one of the most amazing and inspiring shows that you can listen into. If you want to be on the edge of your seats, if you want to open up your heart, if you want to expand your mind, and you want to meet incredible people, stay tuned because you're just about to experience a transformative radio show that will change your life. And you're listening to the Dr. Pat Show that's coming up right next.
Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show. Talk radio to thrive by. Powerful, inspiring, and coming to you live, bringing you stories of people like you and me, busting through and living life full out. Get ready to dare to wonder what your life would be like if you knew you could not fail. Hey, everybody, I want to welcome you. We've got a great show lined up for you. An old friend, a colleague, somebody that is one of our most amazing hosts on the network. And, you know, it's interesting because I think about Sarah Main and I think about when we first met, and I think about the most amazing things I've gained from knowing her. Everything from understanding really poor pronunciation of Sanskrit that I have, that for sure. I'm working on that. But even more importantly, the depth and the breadth of when we step into a space that is so fully spiritual, that is so about the values and the virtues that many of us hope to live by. She has been an executive, a transformational coach. She was born into this world to be a superb teacher. You know, to be that person, whether it is on stage, whether it is singing, whether it is chanting, whether it is playing a phenomenal musical instrument that maybe she'll tell you about. But this is where she stepped in to understand that there is a school that we can all learn from. And there are philosophies that all of us can learn of. And when we step into that, and when we understand that this is a benevolent, loving, powerful place. Yeah, you can say benevolent and powerful like in the same sentence. That's okay to do that. But if you do it in a way where you understand what Sarah has created. Whether you know the many, many things she's done through conscious confidence, or you understand the backdrop for some of the most beautiful things coming through from Damayanti. All of this is part of what we're talking about today. She is an author. She is a speaker. She is a teacher. She is a woman that is out in the world in coaching, enabling all of us to become better in this world and do better. Today, one of our favorite topics, smooth sailing, how to navigate life's, I don't know how she picks these things, how to navigate life transitions. My special guest, Sarah Main of Damayanti, the show for your soul. Sarah, how do you pick them? Oh, no.
They pick me, Dr. Pat. They pick me.
Wow. Thank you so much. I want to start out really with, you know, what we wanted to talk about today, which is the challenge of change. Yeah. And how to come out a winner. And I so honor you for using the word winner. So often people are afraid to use the word winner. And I think that is a scenario that we have to change. There's something that the word winner sort of got a bad rap for. What do you think?
Oh, definitely. But, you know, let's go back to Sanskrit, my favorite, yes. Dr. Pat, because that's how we clear up our thinking. That's why we need Sanskrit, because we clear up our thinking. You want the word victor, like we talk about victim and victimhood and victim mindset, right? Well, the opposite of that is being a victor, right? You look up Sanskrit, victor is very simple. It's a winner. You've won. End of, basically. So, you know, let's just embrace that, stand in that energy, stand in that resonance and say, yeah, we've won.
Yeah.
And, you know, won over what doesn't matter. And it's not even, it's funny though. It's when we get into that resonance, it's not even a competitive being a winner.
No.
It's just that triumphant energy that you've been able to stand strong in your in your true energy, your true being. It's true empowerment. It's not bossiness empowerment, that bossy dominating one. It's just true empowerment. And that's the being a winner.
Yeah. Sarah, here it is. I've talked a lot about this lately. I don't know why it comes up for me, but we are born as winners. I mean, if you think about a little baby, if you ever see a little baby born in this world, the baby doesn't know about losing. The baby understands winning. How do we know that? It cries and then it gets what it wants. Consider that a win. Right? I mean, right?
100%.
And it's not gonna stop crying until it gets what it wants. It's like winner. But somewhere along the way, we forget that.
Yep.
But we're born in this world with infinite possibilities of overcoming historical and hysterical challenges, aren't we?
Yes. Yeah. But I think that we certainly are. So the answer to what you just said is yes, 100%. The wisdom traditions totally confirm that. However, the human journey, the soul journey that we go through, it would seem in this life, does appear to have the twists and the turns, the ups and the downs, the potholes in the road. And we're here to actually navigate those, find ways around them, not to just fall into a hole and that's it. It's to keep going, to manifest those mighty energies of resilience, of strength, to actually demonstrate them, magnify them, and be a winner and evolve that energy all the time for those that are coming after us. It seems to be the sort of greatest show on earth, really, but I mean, that's the fact. And it is a sort of dichotomy between this limitless possibility that we all have within us that in fact doesn't change. That's the thing. That gets lost in all the change on the surface. Think like the ocean with waves on the top and it's still underneath. We've got this double-decker bus arrangement going on.
Well, it is. And let's talk about this for a minute. Let's talk about the idea that life, what is life? We come through, I'm on the East Coast. I never thought I would be here for the reasons I am here, but I am here. And the minute that you make a decision on an instant to pivot on a dime and to do something that's so important to do, and you do it. And sometimes you do things and you go through life's transitions, life's changes and challenges, and they feel so right. They feel so perfect. And the other time, it's like you're at that strange Disney ride. I forget what it's called, Space Mountain, where they're taking you up in the dark and you have no idea where you're going. What is it about that, that we can learn from transitions?
Well, transitions is a funny thing because we can know that we're going through a transition. Sometimes we don't know we're going through a transition. It's just this sense of confusion, uncertainty. You just I don't quite know what's going on. You may have depending on the transition, you may not have a sense of really who you are. And that can sound weird, but that can happen depending on the nature of what the transition is about. And, look, it's an obvious point, but transitions are indicating that something is ending and something new is beginning. It's not the other way around. Something is ending and something new is beginning. The circumstances, of course, are infinite in possibility of what that is. So there is this sense of confusion, or it can be just completely in the dark, and it is a state of trust, of just living by trust and faith rather than control, because the circumstances are forcing you, in a sense, to let go of what elements of control you felt have kept your life in a way that you understand, the parameters of it, and you can function, right? Yeah. And that hence the sense of you just literally don't know who you are. I mean, I've had this in this process with you, working all these years now, starting with what I was working on that morphed into conscious confidence. Let's not use the word morph. Let's say evolve. Sounds better. evolved into conscious confidence, then a book, and then it proceeded, and then it's developed into Damayanti. And there have been times where it's either just been this general sense of, where are we going? I've kind of known where I was going, but sometimes hard to articulate.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's been a sense, particularly with this new development into Damayanti, the next phase, sometimes you just literally don't know who you are.
Yeah.
And if you don't have some connection within yourself and just say, okay, this is just a passing feeling, it's good, you know, just sort of encourage it but not resist it, and then let it go, it can be really spooky, you know.
Yeah. No, really spooky is right, because that's what I want to talk about when we come back. Who am I? You know, both of us have gone through this. I've gone through this recently, and I had quite an epiphany. And, you know, when I was telling somebody about this epiphany, they were like, are you kidding me, Pat? You didn't know that? But we're always the last to know, and it has to do with our vision in life. But who am I? Who am I today? You know, is there something about me that does stay constant, or am I just going to continue to change? You know, like a character from the X-Men. Am I going to be something that just is never stopping? And then the question is for Sarah Main, how do I keep up? Let's take a short break, everybody. We'll be right back.
Awesome. Damayanti, where style and beauty meet timeless wisdom. Damayanti, wearable mantras in sacred Sanskrit. Finely crafted and etched with beautiful reminders of your inner beauty and strength. Made in America and shipped directly from us to you. Damayanti, the place to find beautiful jewelry specially made with love. Go to damayanti.store now to find the special mantra that speaks to your soul.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Look, I want to make sure you understand that it is such an honor and a pleasure to have Sarah Main here with me, host of a fabulous show. Before we go on, you've mentioned Damayanti, but a few other things. Please let folks know how they find out more about all of it.
Go to my website, damayanti.store. I'll spell it for you, Damayanti, damayanti.store. There's a bit about me. There's all my archive of shows, which I'm so proud of and honored to be on the Transformation Talk Network platform. I've loved every bit about it from the beginning, and you're wonderful too, Dr. Pat. So this is a shout out to you. There's my book links, there's everything there. Yep.
Thank you. Look, we're getting ready to launch on around July, 4th of July here, something we've been working on for about a decade. And, you know, we had to wait for technology to catch up, right?
Yeah.
But there's always been a question. What's going to be your first channel? What's going to be your first expanded channel, Pat? And, you know, people, you got to put this one up. You got to put the addiction channel up. You got to put this one. You got to put this one. And the funniest thing happened. I was invited to speak at an event in Chicago about 2 weeks ago. And I did. But in the process of that, I said, oh, my gosh, I'm going to start my nonprofit for women to help women in media. And the light bulb goes on. And I think I called Jessica, or I can't remember exactly how it happened. I said, oh my gosh, it's so obvious. The women's channel has to be first. Because the network was born from that. And but yet everybody around you sees it, we don't. And let me ask you about that. Do we get confused about who we are? And what parts of us should we not confuse? Don't you love that should word? I love that. I had to throw that in.
Yes, we do get confused by who we are. We needn't. That's just a lack of knowledge, really, and practice. We get caught up in who we are being all the roles we play, you know, and that's understandable because our roles are what we do every day in the, you know, from the moment we wake up we're assuming a role, be it the role of someone getting up and getting ready for the day, mother, parent, son, daughter, all those sort of familial roles from the family, and then roles as whatever you work at, if you've got a job or you're volunteering, on the PTA or whatever it is. We're performing roles, we're fulfilling roles. Shakespeare said all the world's a stage. Well, that is true. We have all these different roles. That's how we show up. But that's not who we are. Think of the actor on the stage. Costume goes on in the dressing rooms. They go on the stage, perform the part. Show's over. They go backstage and take the costume off, and they are who they are again. Same with us. If we just see ourselves and think of ourselves as that performance on the stage and forget the bit about going backstage and taking the costume off and being who we fundamentally are, then we'll get confused, because whether we like it or not, that performance is going to tire. It has a beginning and an end. The costume is going to get a bit old and worn if we just continue to wear it without taking it off, putting it down. I mean, you need to work that analogy so that your mind actually gets it, so that, all right, well, how do we take that costume off? It is those moments where we just stop, take a breath, come into the present moment, and let that role just drop for a minute, put it down, and be with ourselves. And, this is where the rubber meets the road a bit, because you need to be comfortable in your own company, in your own presence. And some people aren't. And I worked on that when I was coaching, particularly, getting my clients comfortable with who they are beyond all their powerful roles, if they had big corporate roles or whatever, was who are they fundamentally without all of the trappings, and just getting centered in that. Much like a big tree, a mighty tree with deep roots, right? You don't see those roots, but without those roots, that tree isn't there, So, yeah.
It's pretty incredible. I was thinking about you a couple of weeks ago, because I want to talk about courage for a minute. And I know you and I have had several conversations on here about courage.
Yeah.
But I had a real experience with it. And I was at this event, and I hit the ground, got to the event, didn't stop, didn't sleep, had to do my talk, had to get the lighting checked. I mean, it was one thing after the other. And I grew up stuttering as a child. I grew up as a teenager. So here I am, 2 a.m. in the hotel room. I have to put the PowerPoint together. And the talk that I was going to do, I couldn't get the word out. The word that I use is called unstuckable. And I couldn't get it out. And I agonized over it. And I had to stop for a moment. And I asked myself, what do I not have the courage to speak about that I meant to speak about? And I changed the whole talk. And I did a talk, made it up at night, an acronym for the word time, but it shared a lot of my personal story. And I realized that I was hiding behind the mask. But the truth of my upbringing and some of the things I've gone through, it doesn't really talk to who I am, but it talks to some point, and I'd like you to really comment on this, how I became who I am today. Does that make sense to you? And yet I was scared to do that talk. I was literally afraid to do that talk.
Yeah. And that's sort of legitimate fear, to be honest with you.
Thank you, Sarah.
I mean, apart from, fear if a tiger's running towards you, good call. Get that adrenaline going, get out of the way. That's fight, flight. But what you're talking about there, it is a sort of natural fear, if you want to put it that way. And yet we experience it as fear, and yet behind it is the courage, the resilience, the strength to keep going, and that fear falls away. So it's not the type of fear that's going to paralyze you, that you believe so much is you that it's going to prevent you from giving that talk and saying what needs to be said. I mean, that beautiful question that you asked yourself, I mean, that is just inspiration in itself. And the time's right, and you step out of your comfort zone, and this is how new things are evolved, and this is the potential in every human being, is to address those moments. And the meeting point is exactly this, the experiences you had in your earlier life, right?
Yeah.
That's like the grit in the oyster that creates the pearl. So that's, like I said at the beginning, you know, all the life journey has the potholes, it has the twists and turns, the hairpin bends, all of that kind of stuff, and the smooth sailing. It's got all of that, and it's how we navigate that, those working surfaces, how we meet those in the present moment, is what brings forth a whole new creation that is going to uplift and benefit so many other people. And that's what human beings, that's what we're here for. Truly, that is what we are here for. We are the instruments to manifest all of that.
You know, I want to ask you this question because I've interviewed a lot of people, I've talked to a lot of people, and I've heard them say, these are the primary questions. Who am I? What's my purpose? I've never heard anybody really answer them, right? But it's a really good, let's lead. Okay, who am I? Where's my purpose? And, you know, you kind of wait, well, tell me how to get there. And I want to talk to you about that because, you know, I think we could go through a lifetime and our past becomes who we are. We think that we are our past. We think that's it. We think that I'm all that, you know. Well, if you're 2 o'clock in the morning in a hotel room stuttering, I did think I am my past. I'm like a grown woman stuttering in my hotel room. But, you know, there were moments that I was able to call upon to really get past that. And I want to talk to you about that because all those things that we are meant to write down about, like you, I introduced you. I said, maybe you'll share this beautiful instrument you play. There's so many things I could say about you. What's true about that? What's true about any of it? What's true about all of it?
Well, all of those things, you know, look, harp, I have to say, Dr. Pat, since the rise of Damayanti, I've been a little bit busy, and the harp's not getting that much time. I confess, and my piano and all sorts of things. But ballroom
like my
dancing,
table tennis game. Like my table tennis game. It is not happening.
But we are dancing, you know, ballroom dancing. That is our thing, ballroom and Latin, and we are doing that. Anyway, what's true about it is it's true for the moment, as this conversation is true in this time now. But we're not going to be talking forever and ever, ever. This talk has a beginning and an ending. I mean, I'm saying the most obvious things, but we go to sleep and we don't see the obvious. And then we get into a state where it's, you know, what's going on? So you need to have a sort of connection within yourself, because there is that within us that doesn't change. Go back to the analogy of the ocean. There is the underlying surface that is still, and there is a stillness within us, and it's just having that connection, having recourse back to that. It's like pulling the string on the bow back before firing the arrow, and the further back you can pull the string with the arrow on it, the straighter and with more power and force the arrow is going to fly towards the target, right? So this recourse back to ourself, in a sense, is the answer to who am I? And the real answer is inexpressible. There are no words to express it, because whatever answer you come up with, that answer will change, because the answer is beyond all of that change.
I love that you're talking about that. It's interesting because I want to talk about this when we come back from break. You know, I love that you use the analogy of the ocean. You happen to live in a place, by the way, that has most incredible waves. I have a friend that does nothing but try to measure the waves where you live, just like for surfing. And I'm like, okay. And he was saying to me, it doesn't matter how we try to measure those waves, Pat. He says we're the precision we're now using in the surfing industry, the 100-foot wave, blah, 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 blah. He said, you never know.
Yeah.
You never know. When we come back, we're going to talk about, is there any part of us, is there any part of this that doesn't change? You know, you triple Virgos now, you're thinking, okay, is this segment going to be for me? Well, there might be a little bit of it, but ask yourself this question. What would that even look like? I tried to think about this. What would that look like? I did this talk in Chicago, and I was asked today, have you listened to your talk? When we come back, I'll tell you what my answer is. Let's take a short break, everybody. We'll be right back.
Damayanti, jewelry, clothing, and homewares, with inspiring Sanskrit messages of strength, love, and divine energy. Power words that shine a light on your soul path. Our jewelry is made in America and shipped directly from us to you. Damayanti, join us as we take our soul journey together. Go to damayanti.store now to find the special Sanskrit mantra that speaks to your soul.
Well, welcome back, everyone. As I said before, it's an honor. It really is an honor to have Sarah Main joining me here today. Smooth Sailing, How to Navigate Life's Transition. My very special guest, Sarah Main of Damayanti, the show for your soul, and so much more. Again, I want to make sure people know how to get to Damayanti. I want to make sure they know that your past shows are there. There's a lot there, Sarah.
Yeah. Yes. Damayanti.store is my website. Damayanti.store. Damayanti. Damayanti.store. And I'm on social media. So on Facebook, Instagram, and my shows are on YouTube. So find Damayanti and on Facebook and Instagram. And I've also got a Facebook group now, which is self-empowerment for women. It's self-discovery. It's a good place. So come and join the group and check it out. I'm posting stuff about mindfulness, about the key things, really the essence of which is really the essence of my background is all of this. And I'm really bringing that forward now. And everything keeps bringing me back to this. So that's what I'm working on.
Thank you. And I'm going to tell you, I still do the mantras with the worst pronunciation imaginable, but I am still chanting.
Yay.
Oh, Sarah, thank you so much. I was asked a question the other day.
Yep.
Have I listened to the talk? Because people commented on the talk. I think Jessica knows better than me what the comments were. I'm not plugged into social media, but I did hear a few. I don't remember the talk that I did, but I do remember people commenting after. And so when I was asked that question, I said, no, I haven't listened to the talk. And the person said to me, why? Why haven't you listened to this talk? And I almost started to make up like an excuse. I don't know where that fits in what we're talking about here today, but I know we do it. And I thought, I will listen to that. I will listen to what I said. I was present. I was in the moment, every moment. I was part of a Q&A panel. I remember some of the answers. But I'm the kind of person that stays in the moment and then, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes we do have to go back. Sometimes we do have to go back. Yeah. And I'd like for you to talk about that, because there are some things that don't change. And our past, I think, is one of them. I mean, we can change what we think about it, but hello.
Well, yeah, quite. The events themselves, no. But how we think about them, that's important, because if we continue to think about them in the same way, we're basically still living in them. They're still actually not past, they're present. If you want to, for them to be genuinely past, we need to actually release any story, narrative, resistance to those past events. And then they can, then we can think about them, and we have no reaction, no response to them. If there's still an energetic charge in some form or another, that's an indication that those things are actually still present. The circumstances may not be right in front of our eyeballs, but they're still present.
Exactly. And, they were so present with me, in that moment that I think that look, I'm starting to stutter even as I think about it. I think that the moment that I couldn't get the literally the name of my talk out in my hotel room was a sign and a message. I want to ask you about this, because let's talk about the within us, the with us, and the outer of us for a minute, if we could, because there's a dynamic nature to it all.
100%. It's all energy. So the within us is, we think of it as within the body because everything is related to the physical body, but actually the body is the smallest element, and the real within us is, limitless, and the body is the sort of tiny bit. But within, when we just close our eyes and just fall still and go within, so our senses are not turned out, because it's natural for the senses to be turned out. The Katha Upanishad, one of the wisdom traditions, this is written in Sanskrit originally, of course, said God made sense turn out. And then it goes on, it says, now and again a daring soul, so man turned outwards, but now and again a daring soul desiring himself turns inward to find himself, right? So we are not the senses. So all these impressions, they're designed to be outward looking, to bring the impressions into us. That's completely natural. But unless we have that connection within ourselves, which is really imperceptible, it's not perceived by the senses, it's indescribable. And yet it's omnipotent, it's all powerful, all the energy is there, it's omnipresent, it's ever present, it's omniscient, it's all knowing. If we need to know anything, we ask that question in the present moment, and the answer is there. Like you, in the 2 o'clock in the morning in a hotel room in Chicago, you ask the question and a whole new answer is there, right? A whole new way forward. The energy is there. Doesn't matter that you haven't had sleep, all of that. The energy is there. The knowledge is there in Chicago at 2 a.m. in a hotel room, right? It's omnipresent. So, all of these things are true in our experience. You can explain them, but they're just words. This is beyond explanation. It's actually beyond the mind understanding. That's where the faith comes in. So you just stepping forward and taking, you had enough self-awareness that those old things from the past come in, like the stutter, right? And you, rather than go, oh no, oh my God, things are falling apart, how can I do it? You start drinking or whatever you do, right? Right. You have the wherewithal to stop and say, okay, what is this telling me? Or you in your classic way, express the question brilliantly. And that just opens by power a whole new thing. And your job is and you feel that fear, which is natural because you're laid bare, you're naked at that time from your past sense of who you are, right?
Yeah.
And all you need is the courage. That's why we need connection to these mighty powers. We call them values, qualities, whatever you like. But these mighty powers, like patience, like strength, resilience, courage, we need connection to, and these are mighty energies. You have to think of them like that, because that's what we need to cleave to when we walk through to this, whatever it is, the new thing that's being presented. And we give expression to that.
Yeah. I mean, every bit of it. I mean, especially, I took a plane from Chicago to come to New Jersey, an urgent visit to New Jersey. And I found myself still carrying that energy. And, a large part of why I haven't listened to it, I've just been in a whole different zone, really taking care of a very dear friend of mine. And you get into that and it doesn't wear off, Sarah. And this, I want you to talk about this for a little bit, especially about know thyself, because I think when you have, I think awake is great, aware is better. For me, just saying, you know what I mean? Be awake, but when you become aware of the moments of time that literally change you. Now, and I want to say this trip changed me in a way. I'm not saying in a way that I'd never been changed before, but changed me for the time that I needed to be in this moment today.
Yeah.
Change me for today and the future.
Yeah.
And yet I came back here and I had to remember who I was.
Yes.
I want to talk about know thyself because it is so important for me to express to people today, knowing thyself in the face of others that would have you believe you don't, that would challenge the words that you say, the intuition you have, that would question whether or not you should have a voice in this world or not, that would tell you that you're less than somebody else because maybe you do stutter. But this is now a time for something elevated and new, and know thyself, don't you think?
100%. This is really the question of the day, the question of the time. It always has been, but I think particularly now everything is conspiring, coming together. It's a confluence of all these different energies that we need to be grounded in ourselves so that no matter someone, you know, that's an indication of limitations they need to overcome if they're choosing to say those things to someone, to keep them in a small place. That's a reflection on them, not on you. And your, you know, our response to them really, if we're connected with ourselves, can be one of compassion, that they have issues clearly that they're projecting onto someone else. But we needn't take them on. There's you know, it's like being offered a gift and you say, no, look, no, thank you, I choose not to have that gift. Well, then that gift still remains with the giver, you know, so they can have that. Thank you very much. And, you know, and I hope that you experience release from those limiting thoughts yourself. But that comes from, well, it does come from some experience. We do have, I think, my experience in life is you do need a few hard knocks to wake you up. I agree with you, being awake's good, aware's better. That they are related insofar as we can just wake up more. We become more aware, and it's raising that level, uplifting. I was once told by a spiritual teacher of mine, he said, really, what you give your voice to, what you give your tongue to is that which uplifts. Why give your voice to something that brings something down, that divides? And you know, that was a very powerful thing to be taught, because it takes choice and discernment at times to be aware of your own energy and to always be promoting that which uplifts. And I think that's what encouraged me and I enjoyed about teaching, but certainly led me into coaching as well, because you want to see people fulfilling their purpose and you know, being fulfilled. And now what I'm doing is just in a broader way rather than always one-on-one with one client. But this is what we're here for. So, you know, that inspiration that you had, reaching that sticking point, which was showing in the stuttering, to not, you know, to keep moving forward. And obviously your very instinct is to provide that which will inspire, uplift, encourage, give people the opportunity to express their potential, and something new is created. We are creative beings if we will actually step into that.
Yeah.
And the experience is not always just, you know, sweetness and light. You have to have that moment of discomfort, but you keep going.
You're right. The moment of I didn't think about it like this, but discomfort that's a really good phrase, you know, until something happened. And I call it a voice. It wasn't a voice. But until something said, no, do the talk on time. I've been telling Jessica I'm going to talk about time, but I hadn't created what time meant. Because I have an acronym for the word time. And once I got that awareness, see, the awakening part is I couldn't stop stuttering. That's the awareness part, it was, change the topic.
Yep.
But
and look, sometimes it is weird like that you get something like the stuttering, and that will be enough to wake you up into, I'm being told there's something else. You're being tapped on the shoulder. Yeah.
But let's talk about, for the people that may be going through this, because I believe there are a lot of people, especially women, that are going through exactly 100%. What we're talking about.
Yep.
What could you say to them to talk about the messages and practice, so to speak, of getting to that place, that know thyself place? And I'm not talking about 10 years of, I'm talking in the moment, like we just are talking about, like you've had. I mean, I saw it on your face with conscious confidence that but how can we help people understand they can have those moments?
Yeah. Well, it really always starts with getting into the here and now. Now, we need to be present. You can use the word mindfulness, presence, inner stillness, inner connection, groundedness. There's a gazillion ways of describing it, but we need to be here and now. And we think we are, but a lot of the time we're caught up in our thoughts. Excuse me. We're thinking about the laundry we've got to do, how we're going to pay the electricity bill, your job, your this, the that. I'm on my own. I don't have support. All of these things. And they may be true insofar as they're present in the situation, right? However, the first thing is to get into the present moment and let some of those narratives go. You need to actually create some space in all of that, because there is no space, and it's everything's on a loop. There's nothing new that can get in. Okay, so sitting down or standing up, just actually coming into the present moment. And the wonderful thing about the senses, our physical senses of hearing, taste, sight, touch, smell, is that they can only operate in the present moment. We can't smell yesterday. We can't taste tomorrow. It's only now. So coming back to the senses and where we are, feeling the body, the weight of the body in the chair, the clothes on the skin, hearing now, seeing now, without any interpretation, narrative, just a simple awareness is so powerful, because we're linking in to this limitless present moment of potential. And that takes practice. Mm-hmm. There's tons of this around. When I was learning back in the 1970s, there wasn't so much, but now it's everywhere, right? And you need to actually engage with it.
Yeah.
It can only be if you just did 1 minute, 60 seconds, 3 times a day, right? So no one can say they don't have time. That's an indication of the lack of space in their mind. If they say they don't have time, their mind is too full. 3 times a day for 60 seconds, I guarantee your energy would shift. Guarantee. And then you can start asking, what is the next best thing I need to do now? What am I here for? Who am I? Start asking some really important questions. I did a whole show on this a couple of months back. If you go to my show archive, on these important questions, these open-ended questions, and you ask them without really needing an answer, because the answer will present like you. And all you need to do, all you need to know is the next best thing you need to do. You don't need everything, just the next step and the next step. And then it's like street lights lighting the way along the road. You only need enough light to get you to the next street light, and then the next street light. And the road will then start opening up and the light will increase.
Yeah.
And that takes courage. It takes resilience. It takes patience. Why do you think I've got all these you know, the names of these collections in my jewelry collection, and I've done shows on them.
They're beautiful.
And
I'm wearing one.
Yep. See,
You know, yeah.
We
Look,
need these energies. This is not just like them. It's not just nice things.
No, we need them. And, you know, Damayanti is where people can find, we need them. We need them. I want to go back to something you said, and then I know I want to make sure that people understand the power of this.
Yep.
When I first started 20 years ago, people asked, nobody told me I wasn't allowed to interview people that are best-selling authors. I honestly, I just entered this completely ignorant. Thank you for that, though. And I just needed to talk to people. And I was given a book called Be Here Now by Ram Dass.
Yep.
I never had a book like that in my life. The only other book that came close to that, and I'm talking, you know, I didn't have the experience in the 70s. I was too crazy in the 70s, but I got that book.
Yep.
And I got Viktor Frankl's book.
Yeah, brilliant.
Those were two books people gave me, and then Power versus Force. So it's interesting the people that look at you and say, you got to read this book, Pat, right? But I went and I said, I've got to interview him. And I interviewed him. I had never read that before. And out of that interview came a mantra for me. He gave it to me. And he said, you don't need complicated questions.
No.
And I said, well, how about this? I said, well, I'm going to wake up every day, and I'm going to ask, what is mine to do today?
Yeah.
Now, I thought he'd be like, well, that's just not good enough. And he said to me, every day? I said, yes, every day. And I said, will that work?
That's it.
Will that work? I mean, imagine me in front of him, and I'm like, will that work? And that's what I've done every day since. But I didn't understand what I was doing, Sarah.
Yep.
I didn't have an understanding of it.
No, and often, well, I mean, we don't. That's part of the, in a sense, it's like being reborn in that moment. You awaken to a whole new path, your soul path, right? Your soul journey. You don't have terminology for it. You don't see it that way. It's just you, right? But this new energy has opened up and you're following it. You can't not follow it. And, you know, fortunately, you were in the presence of someone who could not tell you what to do, but have this open the space up for you so that question could rise in you. And you have ownership of that and you're following that path. It's not laid out by someone else. And that's what's for everyone. It will come in different ways. And obviously people, you know, if they're in a season of life where they're busy raising young kids and everything, it's busy. And that's where their energy is rightly placed. But that's not always going to be the case. Those kids are going to grow up. And if you lose yourself only in that role, it can be a very unhappy time, but the unhappiness itself can be a prompt to look further, to find that meaning. Who are you now? You know, the kids have grown up. They don't need you packing lunch boxes every day. So who are you now? And finding new parts of yourself and evolving that energy, that consciousness to uplift everyone. Because look at what you've created through just following one step at a time. It's incredible. It's magnificent.
It is. And, you know, I have to tell you, and this is really for me to honor you and your work, because I think I've gone through times in my life where I've forgotten. And being able to work with you for all these years, especially early on, was such a revelation for me. It was, oh my gosh, look at this. Look at what Sarah Main has created. What a beautiful way for us to remember the infinite power we have within us. Sarah, thank you so much today. I know you've got a mantra for us here today, and I love them. And I love this one in particular.
That's why I chose it. I know it's your favorite.
It is my favorite.
Would you like it now?
I want to thank you for today. And there's a reason that this mantra is powerful, and you're going to show us why. Thank you. Please.
Thank you. Yeah. It's all in the listening. This is called the Gayatri mantra. It is the classic beyond classics, the Gayatri mantra. And it means body of all, mind of all, spirit of all. May we meditate on the radiance of the inner light. May that self illuminate our thoughts. Peace, peace, peace. Om Bhur Bhuva Suvaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
That's so beautiful. Sarah, thank you one more time. How do we connect with you? Please tell us. I can't even express the journey that you invited me to take with you. It really is an honor. It is not a place I ever thought I'd see myself. It's not a learning that I'd ever thought I'd have in front of me. And it certainly is not an awareness that I thought would come in this lifetime. But I guess when the student is ready, the teacher comes. Is that the way that goes?
It is how it goes.
Something like that. But I think that's very true. I would have never been able. No, I think it is a very true statement. How do we find out about Damayanti? Please tell us. And the shows and the Facebook group.
Thank you. My website is damayanti.store, and the book, everything's there. And the show archive is there. Streaming, thank you. And yes, my book. And also I have a store, damayanti.store. And I've got beautiful jewelry collections. There are 8 jewelry collections of bracelets, bangles, necklaces, and there's 8. I'm wearing the Satya one at the moment. It says Satya in beautiful Sanskrit lettering. Satya means truth, and it's a connection. It's a reminder. There's prema, love, kshama, patience. There's balam, strength, all of those. And I'm on social media, Facebook, Instagram at Damayanti, and my YouTube channel, Damayanti, the show for your soul. And there's the Facebook group, Self-Empowerment for Women, Self-Discovery for Women. So yeah, come along and join the group.
Yeah, boy, isn't that the key for all of us? Yeah, I'm telling you, got to discover some things along the way, don't we? Sarah, everybody. Sarah, thank you so much for joining me here today. Wow.
As always.
Jessica, thank you for pushing all the right buttons as you usually do. And thank you all for being the best audience ever. And more from Sarah. Please, please, please listen to her shows. There is something in there every day that I listen that changes me. Please be changed. Thank you so much for tuning us in and turning us on.